Okay, so picture this. The floodwaters are gone. The entire world is a clean slate, and standing on it is just one family. Noah, his wife, his sons, and their wives. They are literally the last people on Earth, and they're about to restart everything.
So the big question is, what now? I mean, seriously, when you have to rebuild the entire world from square one, what are the first instructions you get? Let's jump into Genesis 9 and see exactly how the new world order gets established, verse by verse.
All right, the story kicks off with a divine reset. We get to verse 1, and God blesses Noah and his sons with their primary mission: be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. Just imagine it, a tiny family standing on a vast, empty, silent planet. Their job? To bring it all back to life. Then, in verse 2, the whole dynamic between humans and animals gets a massive rewrite. God says, "The fear of you and the dread of you shall be on every beast of the earth." Picture a lion, for the very first time, seeing a human and feeling an instinct to back away. A whole new hierarchy has just been hardwired into the natural world.
You know, this new hierarchy leads directly to verse 3, which is a total game changer for dinner time. God says, "Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you." This is a huge expansion of the menu. It fundamentally changes humanity's relationship with the animal kingdom.
And yeah, this slide spells it out perfectly. Before the flood, the mandate was strictly plants. You see it on the left. But now, look at the right. The menu has completely been rewritten. Suddenly, every living creature is on the table.
But of course, this new freedom comes with a really critical rule. Verse 4, "But you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood." Now, this isn't just a dietary tip. It's a foundational statement about the sanctity of life itself. Just imagine a close-up on a single drop of blood, and it's almost glowing, representing that life force that has to be respected. And that respect for life gets dialed way up in verse 5. God says, "Surely for your lifeblood I will demand a reckoning." He's saying he will hold not just people but even animals accountable. You can almost picture a giant cosmic set of scales. A single drop of human blood is placed on one side, and the whole thing just slams down, demanding balance.
Verse 6 lays out the consequence in stark terms, establishing a core principle for justice. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. This isn't just about revenge, it's about protecting the immense value of a human life. And the reason why is in the very next phrase.
So why such a heavy law? Because humans are made in the image of God. Think about what that means. Every single person has this inherent sacred value. To harm a human is to vandalize the masterpiece of the Creator. And then, in verse 7, God kind of bookends this whole section by repeating the main mission. Go on, be fruitful, and multiply. So with the new rules for life on earth established, the narrative makes a huge shift, moving from law to an unbelievable promise.
After setting all these new laws for life, God makes an unconditional, everlasting promise. And this is not a negotiation, it is a declaration.
So in verses 8 through 11, God spells out just how huge this covenant is. He makes it not just with Noah's family, or even all their future descendants, but with every living creature that came out of the ark. The promise is this: never again will a flood destroy all life. Imagine this glowing protective shield descending over the entire planet, covering not just the people, but every single animal.
So how are people going to remember this incredible promise? Well, verses 12 and 13 give us the unforgettable sign. Just picture a divine hand painting this brilliant arc of color across a dark, stormy sky. The rainbow is no longer just a weather phenomenon. It's now a divine signature on a contract with the entire planet.
Verses 14 through 16 basically explain how it works. When God brings a cloud over the earth, the rainbow will appear. And when it does, God says, "I will remember my covenant." It's incredible. It's as if the sign is there to remind God himself of the promise he made. And finally, in verse 17, God says it one more time directly to Noah just to lock it in. This is the sign of the covenant. The deal is sealed, and its proof will be painted in the sky for all time.
But right after this cosmic high point, this incredible divine promise, the story just slams right back down to earth with a deeply human and incredibly messy family drama. The camera zooms way in, from the heavens to the inside of one dark tent. So verses 18 and 19 reintroduce our key players, Noah's three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the text adds this crucial detail. From these three men, the whole world was populated. You can just imagine a family tree sprouting from them, with three main branches that will eventually cover the entire globe.
And now the incident. Verse 20, Noah,
The hero of the flood becomes a farmer and plants a vineyard. Verse 21, he drinks the wine he made, gets drunk, and passes out naked in his tent. Then, verse 22, his son Ham walks in, sees his father completely vulnerable, and instead of helping, he goes outside to gossip about it to his brothers.
But verse 23 shows us a completely different reaction. Shem and Japheth grab a garment, walk backward into the tent so they don't see their father's nakedness, and they cover him. This slide just captures that core conflict perfectly. One son chose mockery and exposure, while the other two chose honor and protection. That image of them walking backward, holding that blanket, it's powerful.
Now this single moment of disrespect, it has staggering, generation-spanning consequences. Let's dig into the fallout. In verse 24, Noah wakes up. He's sober. And the text says he knew what his younger son had done to him. Imagine Noah sitting up, and there's this look of deep disappointment and clear understanding on his face. He knows, and the words he speaks next are going to shape the future.
In verses 25 through 27, he speaks a prophecy. First, he curses Ham's son Canaan to be a servant. But then he blesses Shem, invoking the Lord as his God. And he blesses Japheth with expansion, saying he will dwell in the tents of Shem. You can almost see three different paths diverging from this one tent. One leads down, one is lit by a divine light, and the third widens out to join the second.
And now the story pulls back to give us a sense of scale. Verse 28 tells us that after the flood, after this family crisis, Noah lived for another 350 years. Think about that. Centuries to watch his children's children populate the new world, all under the sign of that rainbow.
And that brings us to verse 29, the final summary of his life. In total, Noah lived to be 950 years old, and then he died. The era of this monumental patriarch, the man who saved humanity, comes to a very quiet close.
So we're left with this powerful contrast, aren't we? A chapter that starts with God's unbreakable promise for all of humanity, ends with a broken human family whose actions are going to echo through the generations. It just perfectly captures the tension that's going to define the rest of the story.